borders and structures of supraclavicular triangle. So can we see in this topic, to be in safe side, how to talk about it? Say that the supraclavicular triangle generally is the posterior triangle of the neck to cover everything. So how to divide it? It has borders which are between the sternocleidomastoid and the trapezius and the middle 1/3 of clavicle. Any diagram of the neck? Like this. So here what we have between this sternocleidomastoid, trapezius and middle 1/3 of clavicle. So this will be the posterior triangle of the neck. What we have, it will be subdivided by inferior belly of omohyoid to two triangles. What they are? Omotrapezoid, omoclavicular. What will be the contents? Here what we have and here what we have. Generally in all of them we have one muscle, two vessels, three nerves and lymph nodes. So 1, 2, 3 and lymph nodes. Which one muscle? Inferior belly of omohyoid. Which two vessels? Two group of vessels, arteries and veins. Which arteries? I have artery here. What it will be? Subclavian, excellent. And from subclavian we have a branches from first part, from second part, from third part. This because we have the third part, so third part normally it gives no branches, except sometimes it gives what's called dorsal scapular artery. Dorsal scapular artery. But we have branches from first part, it reach me here in the posterior triangle of the neck. What these branches from first part and it goes up to here? Thyrocervical, it gives what? Not thyrocervical itself, but thyrocervical it gives and scapular, excellent. Transverse cervical and suprascapular. They are branches from thyrocervical trunk, but they are going backwards. So we have transverse cervical and suprascapular, together with third part of subclavian itself. Together with here we have artery. Which artery which is running here like this? Occipital artery, which is branched from external carotid. Occipital artery. So we have subclavian, transverse cervical, suprascapular and occipital artery. What will be the veins? Subclavian vein and external jugular vein. Subclavian vein and the vein which drains inside the subclavian, it will be external jugular vein. What will be the nerves? We have the 4 nerves which are coming from the Erb's point. What is Erb's point? The point which is on the middle of posterior border of sternocleidomastoid. And what this Erb's point it gives? It gives laser occipital, greater auricular, transverse cervical, supraclavicular. So they are all coming from this triangle. And also inside this triangle we have accessory nerve, which is running transversely between these two muscles, sternocleidomastoid and trapezius. And also what we have which nerves? The cords and the trunks of brachial plexus. The cords and the trunks of brachial plexus. So all of them, they are here. So again we have 1, 2, 3 and lymph nodes. Which one? One muscle, inferior belly of omohyoid. Which two? Two vessels, arteries and veins. Which arteries? Third part of subclavian, transverse cervical and suprascapular and occipital. Which veins? Subclavian vein, external jugular vein. Which nerves? The nerves which are coming from Erb's point, like laser occipital, greater auricular, transverse cervical and supraclavicular, together with accessory nerve, together with cords and trunks of brachial plexus. Which lymph nodes? Supraclavicular lymph nodes and occipital lymph nodes. So all of these contents of the posterior triangle of the neck or supraclavicular triangle of the neck. Really, is it clear? Okay. What else? We have borders and structures of median cervical region. Yes, median cervical region. How to talk about this area? Describe it completely in details from here up to the suprasternal notch. So first say the boundaries. Which were boundaries? From where? What this? Symphysis menti. Do you remember in the mandible we call this bone symphysis menti up to the suprasternal notch. So anything in the midline. What will be your lateral borders? The muscular triangles. The muscular triangle. So let's say the contents. You have lots of contents in this area. So it's much easier for you even in the exam to divide it. To not jump from here to here to here to here. You find yourself that you are confused and lost and you don't know even do I say this or not? Did I say this or not? So it's much better if you divide it. Say that we have suprahyoid and infrahyoid region. In the suprahyoid, describe bones, muscles, nerves, and vessels. Which bones here? We have this, which is symphysis menti, up to hyoid bone. And what will be the vessels? Which vessels here? Anterior jugular vein, submental vessels, and nerve as well. And what else? We have cervical branch of fascial, which was supplying platysma muscle. Which muscles in this area? Platysma and mylohyoid and hyoglossus and anterior belly of digastric. Okay, all of this will be in this area. Which lymph nodes? Submental lymph nodes. Don't say submandibular. Why? Now they are on each side. I need the median cervical region. Okay, then come down to the hyoid. What you have? We have lots of structures now. We have bones, we have ligaments, we have muscles, we have membranes, we have nerves, and we have vessels. So how to describe all of them? If you look to the diagram and try to take this diagram like copy-paste, you will never forget it. Yes. This is a median region of the neck, median cervical region. So you said suprahyoid, what you have? We have the symphysis menti, we have anterior belly of digastric, mylohyoid muscle, platysma covering all of them, supplied by cervical branch of fascia. We have submental lymph nodes, we have submental vessels, we have anterior jugular vein. All of this will be in this area. Down to hyoid, what you have? We have lots of structures. Like what? According to cartilage, we have thyroid, cricoid, and tracheal rings up to the suprasternal notch. According to the ligaments, we have thyrohyoid membrane, we have cricothyroid membrane, and we have cricotracheal membrane and intertracheal membranes between each tracheal ring and another. According to the muscles, we have which muscles? Thyrohyoid muscle, cricothyroid muscle, and also we have the infrahyoid muscles like sternohyoid, sternothyroid, omohyoid. What will be the glands? I have the isthmus of thyroid gland. What will be the vessels and nerves? We have anterior jugular vein, we have superior laryngeal vessels, and internal laryngeal nerve, and superior thyroid and inferior thyroid vessels. Do you remember superior thyroid artery, inferior thyroid artery, superior thyroid vein, middle thyroid vein, inferior thyroid vein? All of them, they will be here. And also sometimes we have what's called thyroid ema artery. What is thyroid ema artery? Sometimes you can find it. It's a branch from arch aorta, and it goes upwards to supply the gland. We call it thyroid ema artery. Which lymph nodes? We have prelaryngeal and pretracheal lymph nodes. All of this will be the structures in the median cervical region, or the other name is? Yes, I don't know even what it is. It's okay. So I mean, don't be panic. If he said this name for you, okay, directly translated in your mind, it will be the median cervical region. It's okay.
Superior thyroid artery from which branch?
Superior thyroid from external carotid, but inferior thyroid from thyrocervical trunk, which is branched from subclavian. Very good. Then we have nocal region. Yes.
Muscles make up the median region. What are the borders?
The borders will be you can say the carotid sheath. Yes, because we said one of the contents will be infrahyoid muscles. So it means that muscular triangle inside is still the area. So your landmark is like superior belly of omohyoid. Superior belly of omohyoid. Anything lateral to superior belly of omohyoid, it will be carotid sheath. Because you do remember the boundaries? We said carotid sheath between posterior belly of digastric and superior belly of omohyoid and sternocleidomastoid. So anything lateral to superior belly of omohyoid, it will be carotid. But anything medial, it was muscular triangle, including in this region. Okay,
Right.
including this region.
I have a question. Maybe it's a stupid question.
No, it's okay.
Do we have anterior jugular and posterior jugular and external jugular and internal jugular?
We have no posterior, but we have internal and external and anterior.
Anterior.
Yes, anterior. What is anterior jugular? We have external jugular, of course, and internal
Yeah.
jugular. They are coming from where? Do you know they are coming from where? Internal jugular, it was a continuation of sigmoid sinus itself. If this our So look at here, this internal jugular, it was coming as a continuation of something inside the cranial cavity. We called it sigmoid sinus. So at the level of jugular foramen, it will be internal jugular vein. So this internal jugular vein. Together with subclavian, they unite to form brachiocephalic. Brachiocephalic with brachiocephalic, they unite to form superior vena cava. But where is external jugular? It goes like this to drain into subclavian. It comes from where? It was a junction between, do you remember, superficial temporal and maxillary unite to form retromandibular divides to anterior and posterior. Posterior with posterior auricular, they unite to form external jugular. So posterior with posterior auricular, they unite to form external jugular. So external jugular, it drains into subclavian. External jugular itself, it takes anterior jugular. It will be vein running in the midline of the neck like this, and it goes posteriorly to drain into external
Not
jugular.
always present, right?
No, actually, it's present. It's always present, anterior jugular. But you can say because it's very, very superficial, sometimes you will never find it. It's directly to the skin. It's here, anterior jugular. And they are connected even by arch. We call the jugular arch. Jugular arch, directly in front of the jugular notch. Okay? So this will be anterior jugular.
And in the handout, there was also a posterior external jugular.
Here, but not external. Here we have from the external jugular itself, we have what's called the transverse cervical and suprascapular. So this transverse cervical, sometimes they called it posterior jugular. Okay, but here we have this anterior jugular and this internal jugular and this external jugular. And these are the branches which going to external jugular. It's the same like here, anterior jugular and the transverse cervical and this suprascapular. They are going to external jugular. And external jugular, it goes to subclavian. Together with internal jugular forming brachiocephalic vein. With brachiocephalic vein, they unite to form superior vena, which goes to the heart. It's okay? So this generally, it will be the veins in the neck. Okay. By the way, here still he needs thyroid gland in this topic as well to talk about it in detail. Thyroid gland, anatomically, it has nothing to talk about except the blood supply and the nerve supply. Histologically, yes, you have to describe it in details because anatomically, how to talk about it? It just has isthmus and two lateral loops. That's it. Okay, where surround like horseshoe, like this, like C-shaped, surrounding the trachea, covered by what? By pretracheal fascia, forming like a capsule for this thyroid gland. We called it pretracheal fascia. It was coming down, split to enclose the gland, then it unites again, forming fascia for the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland supplied by which arteries?
Inferior.
Superior and inferior thyroid arteries. Superior from external carotid, inferior from thyrocervical trunk. What will be the venous drainage? Superior, middle, inferior thyroid veins. Superior and middle, they are going to internal jugular, but inferior it goes to brachiocephalic. Superior and middle it goes to internal jugular, but inferior only it goes to brachiocephalic. Okay? And what will be the lymphatic drainage of thyroid gland? Pre-laryngeal lymph nodes, pre-tracheal lymph nodes, para-tracheal lymph nodes, retropharyngeal lymph nodes. All of this for draining the thyroid gland itself. Okay? Then Nocca region. How to talk about the Nocca region? Describe all of the area of the back of the neck. So let's dissect it like we always do. We have first skin. After skin, superficial fascia. Now never to say platysma at all. Platysma only anteriorly. Now we don't have platysma on the back of the neck. So skin, superficial fascia, supplied by what? This superficial fascia? By the cutaneous nerve supply, which are transverse cervical and suprascapular. The nerves which are supplying the skin of here. And also the dorsal nerves of the intercostal nerves here. No, it's not intercostal, the cervical nerves. The dorsal branches of cervical nerves. It will be the skin innervation of this area. What else? After skin and superficial fascia, now we have deep fascia. Which deep fascia? The general investing deep fascia and the nocal ligament. We have what's called nocal ligament in the midline of the back of the neck. Extends from the base of the skull up to the area of cervical vertebrae, C7. The prominence of the cervical vertebrae, the spine of C7. Okay, all of this nocal ligament. Then what would be the muscles? We describe this area, or we divide this area into 4 layers. First layer, second layer, and third layer. Like here. Can you see these are the layers? First layer, it has what? It has sternocleidomastoid and trapezius. Second layer, it has levatoroscapula and splenius muscle. Third layer, it has semispinalis capitis and longissimus capitis. Fourth layer, it has the muscles which are forming the boundaries of suboccipital triangle. Because actually in this topic, you have to reach to the suboccipital region to talk about suboccipital triangle. So what was this suboccipital triangle? Triangle bounded by rectus capitis posterior major, rectus capitis posterior minor, superior oblique, and inferior oblique. And what the contents of this suboccipital triangle? Suboccipital nerve, suboccipital venous plexus, and suboccipital lymph nodes, and vertebral artery. The third part of vertebral artery to be running here to reach the foramen magnum, to unite inside the foramen magnum to form basilar artery. It's okay? So again, suboccipital triangle. It's triangle on the most deep layer of the back of the neck, in the Nocca region. Now, after this, actually, you'll find the bones. So we said skin, superficial fascia, deep fascia, including the general investing deep fascia and nocal ligament. Then we have muscles. Also, it was divided into 4 layers. Then after the 4th layer, now we have bones. Which bones? Atlas and axis. The cervical vertebra now, the first and the second cervical vertebra, and of course the remaining cervical vertebra. In front of atlas and axis, in front superficially, I mean not in front anteriorly, superficial to the atlas and axis from the back, we have triangle. We call it suboccipital triangle. Bounded by what? By rectus capitis, posterior, major, and minor, superior oblique, and inferior oblique. What would be the contents of this suboccipital triangle? Suboccipital nerve, suboccipital venous plexus, suboccipital lymph nodes, and vertebral artery, together with also greater occipital nerve and third occipital nerve. They are branches from cervical plexus. They are branches from cervical plexus. Is it clear? So these are the layers, or generally, it will be all of the structures in the Nocca region.
Suboccipital nerve was coming from.
Suboccipital nerve, it will be also from cervical plexus, from C2. Yes, from C2, from cervical plexus. The last topic to talk about it today, so that's why now we will be finished with 17 and 18. So from next time, from tomorrow, we will start from 19 up to the end. Up to here. Okay? So, cervical part of trachea and esophagus and structures running around them. Cervical part only. Do you remember when we talked about the thorax? We talked about the topic list of the thorax, and we talked about the thoracic part of trachea and esophagus. Now go up and talk about the cervical part of trachea and esophagus. So where it starts?
C6.
Yes, from both of them. They started at the level of C6 as a continuation of larynx and pharynx. Larynx will be trachea, pharynx will be esophagus. And where they end? Both of them now in the cervical region, they end at the level of thoracic inlet. Because after this, it depends. Trachea, it will end at the level of T4, but esophagus, it ends in the abdomen. Okay? So what will be the structure surrounding them in the area of the head and neck? Here you have trachea and esophagus surrounded by what? Very important thing.
Pretracheal fascia.
Something else. Nerve.
Recurrent.
Recurrent laryngeal nerve. Very, very important. Critical nerve. Really, because it's present in very critical situation. It's present next to the trachea and esophagus. And which is the critical thing here? During removal, especially of thyroid gland, thyroidectomy, during removal of thyroid gland, we are so much afraid about this nerve. Why? If you cut this nerve, what happens?
No, I can't talk.
Excellent. It was supplying larynx, the box voice, the voice of box, the here. So that's why we speak by recurrent laryngeal nerve. If you cut it, no speech anymore. So can you see he was going to remove the thyroid gland, came out without voice completely. That's why we are so much afraid about this. It's okay, thyroid gland. So we have what as well on each side of the trachea and esophagus. We said we have right and left recurrent laryngeal, right and left vagus, right and left phrenic nerves. All of them, they will be in this area. It's okay. Right and left sympathetic chain, and the upper and lower deep cervical lymph nodes. All of this will be on each side. But the most important thing, please, recurrent laryngeal nerve. Okay. What will be their blood supply in the area of the neck? Blood supply and the venous drainage by inferior thyroid artery and vein. Inferior thyroid artery and vein, which are branches from thyrocervical trunk from subclavian. It's okay. But what will be the nerve supply? It needs sympathetic and parasympathetic, both of them. Trachea and esophagus, they need sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic from where? From plexus surrounding inferior thyroid vessels, which is coming from where? What will be the plexus surrounding inferior thyroid vessels? From middle cervical ganglia. So can you see it takes sympathetic from the plexus surrounding inferior thyroid artery, which is coming from middle cervical ganglia. Parasympathetic from where? It should be from vagus. But we found someone more closer to me than vagus, but it's branched from vagus as well, which is, we said, the most important, recurrent laryngeal. So recurrent laryngeal nerve, it will be the nerve supply of trachea and esophagus in the neck. So again, the blood supply, inferior thyroid artery. The venous drainage, inferior thyroid vein. The nerve supply, sympathetic from plexus surrounding inferior thyroid artery. Parasympathetic from recurrent laryngeal nerve, which is branched from vagus.
When they enter like the thoracic inlet and they become lower,
Yes,
near vagus.
they now completely taking different blood supply and the venous drainage and nerve supply. What will be their blood supply now? Bronchial arteries. Do you remember in the thorax? What will be their venous drainage? Bronchial veins, which are going to azygos and access to azygos. What will be the nerve supply? Sympathetic from, now it's not cervical ganglia at all. It will be from T2, 3 and 4, second, third and fourth thoracic ganglia. What will be the parasympathetic? Vagus.
Thoracic or lumbar?
Thoracic. T2, T3, T4, thoracic. Now we are in the thorax. Okay? So this will be their blood supply and the nerve supply in the area of the neck. Next time we will continue. Yes. And mostly it will be not so much difficult because I think the lowermost topic